Hey, Rick Yoder here with another video for my WD6 class at Full Sail University. Right here I have my website, xbit.technology, opened up, and I have a special directory I made just for this project and this screencast called PHP Prep. And right now I am in the index controller, and this is the index page essentially, the view that is pulled up from that controller. So let me just start off by testing the application first. So let's say I'm a teacher and I put in the student's name, for example, Rick. And then we have a student grade field. So let's say I want to give myself a B, so an 85. Click on the import data button. And as you can see here, I have my student ID, which is number 1, my name, my grade, which can be edited using the up and down arrows on my keyboard, clicking these arrows here, or just typing in a new value essentially. And then we also have the letter grade field, which is calculated based on the actual percentage grade, which is also not editable. Now if I wanted to change my letter grade though, all I could do is just do like 70 and then just click the edit button. Automatically calculates it as a C then. 60, actually 65. Yeah, 65 is a D, and then anything less than 64, I think. Oop, anything less than 60? Yep, anything less than 60 is an F. Now, if I wanted to just delete this record altogether, I can just click on the delete button, and it's all gone. So now let's hop into the code here in Notepad++. So this assignment was very similar to the fruits assignment from ASL from last month. I used essentially the same kind of code for that essentially. So what I mean by that is I'm doing everything via the URL. So I would have the root directory, then I would have the controller, and then I could have a method within the controller, for example, edit or add or this kind of conundrum. So anyways, in the code here, I'm going to take a look at the app controller first. So to start off, I started with a private function, calculate grade letter, with a grade input. Now to keep things nice and secure on the server side in terms of making sure that this is a number, I just cast the function int_val to make sure that we convert the grade variable to a number when we set the letter to null at the beginning of the function. And then we just go through a bunch of if and else statements. If it's greater than or equal to 90, the letter grade's A. If it's between 80 and 89, then it's B. Between 79 and 70, then it's a C. Between 69 and 60, it's a D. Otherwise, it's going to be an F. And then we just return that letter. And then we have the index function, or controller rather. Well, yeah, it's the index function of the index controller. But essentially, that just gets our view. We have our HTML start, and that just lets us put in our page title and stuff like that. Then we get the index view itself, and from there we import data from the model, and we just use the select statement, and we just select star from the grades table, and then we close out our HTML tags and whatnot with this right here. And then we have our add function, our edit function, and our delete functionality within the edit function itself. So just a quick rundown on what's going on here. Basically, we're checking to make sure that all of the fields exist that are supposed to exist. We're checking to see if the add form was posted, if a name was posted, and if a grade was posted. Now, if the grade is not numeric, we're just going to redirect the person back to the index controller and say, sorry, please enter a valid grade from 0 to 100. Otherwise, we actually start to execute all this code here. We get the model, then we insert into the grades table. I didn't bother to do any sanitation for this input, considering the fact that this is just for a class. It's not anything serious or anything like that, just to save on time and stuff like that. But anyways, so we insert here, we put our name in, we put our grade in, and then we calculate the letter grade based on the grade that was posted, essentially. And when all said and done, we just redirect them back to the index page. Glad I caught that. Otherwise, we can just redirect them back to the index page if they don't meet all these requirements, essentially. And same thing kind of going on here with the edit. Make sure that the edit form was posted, make sure the grade was posted, and make sure the student ID was posted so we know which one we're editing. We get the model, we update the record, we set the grade to the new percentage, essentially. We set the student percent to the new grade that was posted, where the student ID equals the posted ID, basically. And then we just redirect back to the index. And then if we post the delete button and the student ID, then we just delete that from the table. So delete from grades where the student ID matches the posted student ID. And then at the end of the day, if neither one of these requirements are met on either line 64 or 77, we just redirect them back to the index page, essentially. Now going to the actual view itself here. So I like to use Materialize for a lot of stuff. It's very similar to Bootstrap. It's actually based off of Bootstrap. The reason why I like to use it is it looks prettier, obviously. So if I put in another name here, you know, this is a very flexible table and whatnot. I could probably resize this. Well, that's about as small as I can make in my browser window for some reason. Wait for it. There we go. And if I was able to make that just a bit smaller, it would become responsive to the point where the table would actually overflow and you'd be able to scroll horizontally. So yeah, I like Materialize because of that, and because I can just add the code necessary for button backgrounds and stuff like that with just a CSS class name. So as you can see here, just use btn-large, yellow, darken 1 for the yellow background, then just white text. Waves, waves effect, waves light. That's that little effect that you see right there when I click on the edit button or the delete button. But anyways, what I have here at the very top, as with my ASL class, I'm echoing out a form at the very top of the document, the view. And the reason why I'm doing that is because you can't put a form within a table, and that's basically what this is towards the bottom here. So you can edit the fields. It's a table essentially, and by the galactic law of HTML5, you can't have a form inside of a table. So I just put the form up here, and what I do in the actual table is I have these input fields. I have a number input, number, text, submit, submit. What I'm doing is I'm using the form attribute to reference the form that was created earlier in the document. So even though these form fields are not nested inside of that form, they still refer to that, and when the form is submitted, they are still connected to this form, basically. Besides that, we have the add new student form. So we just create a row and Materialize, create a column. We set the column width to the full width of the page or the container, essentially. We set the action to PHP prep /index/add to go to the add function here. And then from there, it's just a row with our input fields, student name, student grade. I set the input type as number for the grade, just so we wouldn't have to validate anything on the client side. And then we just have the submit button here, and I call it import data, make it sound kind of professional. And then down here, responsive table, and then all of our editing fields. So yeah, not a lot going on there. We have our grades model here. essentially to keep the names from conflicting, typically what I do is I always just add an underscore to the class name for the model, in this case. But this right here, I have my database connection. I created the WD6 database on my hosting account. Made a password. It's basically just all the numbers, the number line on the top of the keyboard with the shift key held down, so it's just all symbols. And then that's the username and the password for the actual database, xbit x102 underscore WD6. Then we have a select function, we have an add function, and then we have an update and a delete function. Didn't really do anything with these because, again, this is just a brief project, so select, we just select all the fields. That's what we do in the view here. We just select all of them, and then we output them to that table at the very bottom here. And we have the add function where we just run a query, or if the query has an error, we just die with the MySQLi error. And then we just do the same thing for the update and the delete functions. So hypothetically, if we did have an error with the SQL or something, we could just have an error output to the screen. But anyways, can't think I'm forgetting anything except for the fact that we need to create a fake error. So you're not able to actually submit a non-text value because, you know, no matter what, this is an input number field and your browser won't let you type anything that isn't a number basically. But hypothetically, if someone wanted to really try to submit a text input for the grade percentage, we could just say E equals test. When the get parameter for E is set and it equals anything, it would just be output to this top little banner right here. So if I wanted to, so let's say hypothetically if I did try to post a non-numeric value for the grade, this would be the error message I would get, and I'll just copy and paste that. And it would just pop up at the top here. Okay, so besides that, I think I explained everything properly. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me, and thank you so much for watching this video.